Hey everyone, we're here with Dorothy D, doing our resident feature series.
I grew up in Fredericksburg, Texas, out on a ranch, and on Old San Antonio Road, and it was a beautiful way to grow up. I was very fortunate. I had loving parents and an older brother, and we just had a wonderful family relationship. I learned to be very respectful of high water because we lived on the Pedernales River, and every time we had rain, everybody had to go out and help get the cattle up so they wouldn't get washed away by the high water. And I was fortunate in the sense the first year I went to a country school and I rode on horseback behind my brother, and I had a tendency apparently to be mischievous, and I guess I still have that. My father was the choir director at the Methodist Church in Fredericksburg, and I grew up, church was just part of our life. And I'll always remember the choir practice nights that we had to go, and we couldn't stay at home. We had to go and be part of the choir, and I guess that's one reason I love music like I do. My dad had been the choir director, or was the choir director in Fredericksburg for 40 years.
So tell me a little bit about what was the world like back then in Fredericksburg, Texas. It's a small town now, for those that don't know. Fredericksburg is a small town.
Well, of course, it was during the Depression.
Right.
You know, and my dad had a garden, and we all had to help, and we had an orchard, and if we didn't grow the food, we didn't eat it, because we couldn't afford to go to the grocery store to get it. And here again, this was a good teaching experience for me, because it has certainly helped me through my lifetime to know that, always know, Dorothy, that every good and every perfect gift you have comes from God, and be appreciative of the things that you have, and don't ever expect too much. Well, see, my husband had been in the Navy, and he came back to Southwestern, and he decided to go into the ministry, and so he went to Perkins School of Theology. And then that's where we were not going to get married until after he got out of graduate school, but we got married before. And we were in Dallas for 2 years, because he had 1 year of college. We enjoyed Perkins School of Theology. It was a great experience. And the bishop said, I want you to go to Harlingen, Texas to start a new Methodist church. So we went to Harlingen and we were there for 8 years. And then from Harlingen, we were in 5 building programs there, and certainly learned to be appreciative of loving people in the valley. And I still have loving friends from the valley from those days, and that was in 1952. And then from there we went to Lockhart, and we were in Lockhart for 2 years. From there we went to Memorial Methodist Church in Austin, which at that time still is out by Reagan High School. And our church and Sacred Heart Catholic Church were the only 2 churches that were out there by Reagan. At that time, that area of Austin was the fastest growing area. And it had been owned, the property that was owned by the Swedes downtown next to the state capitol, and they sold their property and went out and built this beautiful church plant and a beautiful parsonage. And it's one of the most beautiful parsonages we ever lived in. And of course from there we came to San Antonio, and we were at St. Andrew's Methodist Church. We had long pastorates every place we went. We were there usually from 6 to 10 years. I did not work outside. I could have been a dietitian and had a job, but Milton and I felt like I wanted to have the opportunity, and he wanted me to have the opportunity to get into people's homes to learn to know people better. Because there's something about getting in a person's home, you really learn to know their joys, their hurts, their heartaches, and I'll always be grateful that I had the opportunity to do this. And I think my sons were always grateful that their mother was at home. When they came home, I was there. The Methodist Church and the Catholic Church in Fredericksburg were side by side. And of course, neither one of them had air conditioning. So, you know, we could hear what was going on in each church. Well, to me, I thought that they were saying, I can beat you playing dominoes, I can beat you playing dominoes. And to me, that's what it was. Well, when we got to Austin, well, Father Deason and Milton and I became very close friends. In fact, he came over almost every evening. Father Deason was a very wonderful person, and we our two churches learned to do things together, which this in itself was good. He asked our choir to come over to sing at his church, and it was a time of, I felt like it was a time of Christian growth for everyone, because after all, we're all striving to get to the same place. We're just taking a little bit different route. I never will forget, this little lady said they always had an annual Thanksgiving dinner, and Milton invited Father Deason and his mother to come. And this little Swedish lady came up and she said, Milton, what is that priest doing in my church? And Milton said, well, it's not your church, it's God's church. And we invited him.
No.
Well, in the course of a year, this lady had totally changed her mind. And the next year, when we had the Thanksgiving dinner, well, Father Deason was going to be late, and he called and said he'd be late. Well, this same little lady came up to Milton and said, well, where's our priest? He's not here yet. So we felt like they were growing in their Christian grace as well.